it's something that has to be very intentional. In order for it to be intentional, you can't only just think about it, but you also have to be intentional about the pieces that you put in place to deliver it. But I remember at my first company, I really thought I was doing a good job, and I spent a lot of time thinking about them and writing them, and I loved them, and they didn't do anything for our culture.
Eli Portnoy, co-founder of Backengine, is a serial entrepreneur with 15 years of building VC-backed startups, helping businesses who stay agile, customer-focused, and ready to scale with strength.
My second time around, I thought a lot about it, and I said, well, we had a good culture, but I know it wasn't these cultural tenets. But what was it? And I started to come up with the idea that we had really great people, and the great people made the culture.
What's up, everybody? This is Ryan Van Ornum with another edition of Scaling Up Success powered by Cynergists. Cynergists is your scalable operations company that helps grow your business exponentially faster at a fraction of the cost. Today, I have Eli Portnoy on today with Backengine. Eli, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Really happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we are super excited to have this conversation with you. So tell us a little bit about your business. Tell us how you got there. Let's get the origin story of this whole thing, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am somewhat embarrassed to say this, but I am a serial entrepreneur. I have been building companies for the last 15 years, and this is my third VC-backed company. And one of the things that I noticed across the first two ventures was that founders have a superpower. The superpower is that we are basically talking to customers and prospects and doing all this discovery all day long. And then we can come back and we know everything that our customers want, and we can feed that to the rest of the organization. And so we're involved in product, we're involved in marketing, we're involved in all of the pieces of the business. And that's amazing. Like, it means that as a business, we are super aligned on what we need to do, and we can execute quickly. And that's why you have tiny little startups beating out these massive Goliath companies that have more money, more branding, more distribution, more everything. But it turns out that as startups, like, the goal of the startups is to grow. And as they start to grow, you add more customers. And then all of a sudden you have to start adding people between the CEO or the founder and those customers. And all of a sudden the chain, how information flows into an organization, starts to get more and more disparate and scattered and messy. And all of a sudden that founder advantage that we once had is gone. And then we get disrupted by someone else. And so I felt that pain firsthand, where I knew what it felt like to have that founder power. And then over time, I started to feel that disconnect and started to feel like we were losing it. And the whole intention around Backengine is, how do we bring that superpower back? How do we make sure that any company, no matter what its size is hearing directly from its customers, is understanding all of the things that those customers are saying, and is able to infuse it in across every team and every function, so that everyone is acting both completely aligned and way faster.
I love that, man. There's so much that gets, from the top down. Once you've built something out like that, it's really a priority that everyone is in alignment, And I love that you're building it out that way. That's fantastic. So one question that I have is, like, did you have like a pivotal moment after you started building this thing out there? You're like, yep, we got something.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think I've ever had that pivotal moment. It always feels like a little bit of an evolution, where it's like, oh, this is exciting. There's something here. And then you like keep like tweaking and iterating and like, uncovering more stuff. And then it feels like, oh, we were kind of right, but we were wrong, but now we're even more right. And then like, you just keep going. And then at some point you look back and you're like, wow, we built a real business here. But I don't know that I've ever felt, even when we were like, when I was building big, large companies, I don't know if I ever felt like I figured it out, and more like, man, there's like something here, but there's still so much more to figure out and so much more to do. And, cause like, yeah, there's always just more to do. So I don't know if there was a pivotal moment, but I guess if I had to really just like identify one, it's like when you get that third or fourth customer using the platform, because then paying customers, because then you're like, okay, well, I didn't just convince one person. There's like at least some kernel of something here.
I love that. I love that. What do you find is like your biggest? I mean, you basically said that you're like the serial type of entrepreneur. Like, what's the biggest challenge that you feel is facing entrepreneurs when they're scaling businesses?
I think the hardest thing is managing your own emotions. It's there's something that feels so personal about building a company. It's not a job. It feels like an extension of you. And so every bit of good news leads to an incredible high, and every bit of good bad news feels like an existential problem that you feel to your core. And those ups and downs are just so consistent, and they happen. It's not like, one week is great and one week is bad. It's like in the span of 5 minutes, you can have like these incredible highs and incredible lows. And managing those is really important because you don't want to make decisions from a place of fear when you're having a bad moment, and you don't want to make decisions based on hubris when you're having a good moment. And so being able to like really control yourself matters in terms of the quality of your decision making, but also the rest of the team feeds on your emotions. And so being able to keep those managed, I think, is super helpful to them. So I would say that's the biggest challenge by far.
I love that, man. And how do you stay motivated during tough times when like, man, I can remember when I was building out a company, I was like, man, we just got our ass kicked for like a couple days, like in a row. And I was like, it's gonna fall apart. And then like, but then you pick yourself back up and then you go on and build. But like, how do you keep that motivation, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one really nice thing about having done this a few times is I now have perspective, and I remember all of these times where I thought, "Man, this is existential. Like that's it. We are done." And I mean, there are hundreds of moments that I can remember across the three companies where it just felt like a customer is leaving us, a teammate is leaving us, a customer told us they hate us, and this happened, and it just feels existential. And the thing is, it's never existential. Like it really is just you. There is a path forward. You just have to find it and have to have the resilience to do that. And so that gives me a lot of motivation. Now when something like that happens, I think of it more as like a challenge, like an opportunity, a way to like drive through it. And I know I've done it before. I know I can do it again. And so that's invigorating. That's energizing. And I go do it. The other thing is I'm naturally very, very competitive. So when someone tells me I can't do something, it gives me extra motivation to do it. Same thing when I feel like there's a problem that's existential. It's like, well, no, we got to go figure it out. And that's one of the beauties of starting a company and being a founder is that everything is in your control. Like literally, if you have a bad idea, you can change the idea. If you have the wrong marketing, you can change the marketing. If you have the wrong team, you can change the team. Like everything is in your control. And so if everything's in your control and there's an issue, figuring out the solve is in your control. And like feeling sorry for yourself doesn't help. You just got to go and do it.
Do you feel like as you grow these things out, like you said earlier, like controlling your emotions, you know, when you're running on as a solopreneur or someone with just a few people, man, the emotional swings can like you can almost kind of get away with it. You know what I'm saying? But like when you have like this, 20, 50 people, 100 people in your company and you're flying off the handle, like that can really change the whole direction of your company. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it really can because the rest of the team feeds on it. And if they see you stressed, they're stressed and they don't have the visibility to know why it is that you're stressed. And so then their minds go into bad places and they start making even worse decisions. And yeah, no, it's very dangerous. You have to find a way to be even keeled if other people are relying on you for sure.
Absolutely. How do you stay ahead of like industry trends right now? Because like technology is moving in such rapid ways in so many different aspects of business.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't remember a time like this. I mean, the pace of change and innovation is crazy. I mean, I think I play with stuff a lot. I spend a lot of my day playing with stuff and really trying to understand it, especially the stuff that like really matters to our business. So large language models, the major provider of the foundational models, the tools that are being built on top of these foundational models. Like I'm playing with them all day long and I'm trying to stay as much as I can on top of it. I also spend a lot of time talking to our customers and our prospects and really understanding like how their businesses are changing and where their business is moving. But I guess the one thing I would say about change is there's nothing better for a startup than change. And the reason I say this is because I talked a little bit about this before, but the idea that big companies just have so many advantages over smaller companies, over startups, they really do. And you know, any startup that says, well, we have smarter people, like that's not true. Big companies are able to hire the best and they're able to spend a lot of money and they have brand and distribute. There's just so many advantages. I think the one advantage we have as a smaller company is what I talked about, the CEO advantage before, that CEO superpower. But it's also the idea that we can move faster, we can be agile. And in a world that moves slowly, agility doesn't actually matter. It's not helpful to be agile in a world like if you're in a straight line race, there's no curves. It doesn't matter if you can steer or not because you're going straight. But in a world that's changing really, really quickly, agility matters a lot. It actually matters more than all of the other advantages that big companies have. And so as a startup, I love when things are changing fast because it means that my bigger competitors are going to really struggle and my agility is going to really serve me well.
Yeah, it's like the aircraft carrier versus the F1 race car, right? Like
Yeah.
the F1 race car can go through the twists and turns, but the aircraft carrier still brings a lot of heat behind it, but it's hard to turn that thing in one direction.
Right. And in a straight line, like if you're going into war and you've got like, you know who your target is and you were just like plowing down to get there, that carrier is probably a better idea. But if you're in like a very, very agile, like battle where like the risks are coming from lots of different places and you've got to maneuver, then obviously you want that little ship that can just like
Right.
get around. So yeah, so
Absolutely. Absolutely.
totally.
So like as you're building out your companies, how do you build and maintain such a strong company culture?
Well, it's something that has to be very intentional. And in order for it to be intentional, you can't only just think about it, but you also have to be intentional about the pieces that you put in place to deliver it. So I remember at my first company, I thought company culture was basically a bunch of plaques that we put on the wall with some like cultural tenets. I really thought I was doing a good job, and I spent a lot of time thinking about them and writing them, and I loved them. And they didn't do anything for our culture because they were just plaques on the wall that didn't matter and didn't do anything. And but we had a good culture. And so my second time around, I thought a lot about it and I said, well, we had a good culture, but I know it wasn't these cultural tenets. So what was it? And I started to come up with the idea that, well, we had really great people and the great people made the culture. So how do I make sure that I find great people? And so I took 7 cultural tenets and I turned it into 100 slide deck with every possible prescriptive description I could possibly come up with about what makes a great person. And I thought if I use these principles to hire people, then I'll have a great team and it'll self-reinforce a great culture. And the problem is like when you have 100 slides, like it, having 100 slides is the equivalent of having 0 slides. It's so many that it doesn't mean anything to anyone. And so I've since, and again, I don't know that I have the right answer today, but this is the evolution of my thinking. We have 3 things that we look for in candidates, and these 3 things really guide who joins the company. And it's also what we expect from people once they get here, which hopefully self reinforces into a good culture. And it's very simple. The first is they have to be very functionally very strong. Whatever role they have to be very good at it. And we have lots of ways to measure and basically screen for that. The second is we want people who are highly competitive. We want people who want to win. If my son's on a basketball team and he works really, really hard to do well at that team, and he wants to be with other people who are putting in the work and want to win. He doesn't want to like play with other people who are not trying to win. I think it's the same thing in business. Like I want to win. I'm competitive. I'm willing to put in the effort and I'm willing to make the trade-offs that are required to win. And I want to be around other people who feel the same way. And then the third one is I want people who are highly, highly collaborative internally. So if we're going to be very competitive externally, that's great. But when it comes to the team internally, I want us to be collaborative, not competitive. And if you can find, and that's a hard combination to find, functional excellence, competitive, but also deeply collaborative. Not a lot of people meet that. But if we can find those people, I think we have the basis for a really great culture. Sorry, that was probably longer than you were
You're
hoping
great,
for.
man. I love that. You're dropping mic dropping on that one, my friend. That's awesome, dude. Great job.
Thank you.
If you could give advice to somebody that's wanting to create their own startup right now, what's like one piece of advice that you give them?
I mean, the piece of advice is like, go do it because there has never been a better time in human history to go start a company. We have so many resources at our disposal from like great content around how to do it to incredible amount of infrastructure that we can build on top of that makes it so much faster to just to all the speed advantages that we have and like the way the world is changing. It's just a really, really great time, and it's incredibly rewarding also. So it's just a fun thing to do. So my first piece of advice is just like stop what you're doing and just go figure out what it takes so you can do it. And again, that means different things for different people. Like some people, it means joining a company. Some people, it means like starting it from scratch and making sure that they have the right financial resources to do it. So it might mean like saving for a bit and doing it nights and weekends, whatever that means. Just start, just whatever it is, just start, figure it out and go and do it, because it's a journey that very few people end up regretting.
Right, right. It's like the Nike slogan, just do it, right?
Do
Instant
it.
action.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
exactly.
man, I love the insight that you brought today, man. I definitely think that, you know, people need to speak to you and know, you know, get more of that opportunities to pick your brain. Is there, if there people are interested in your services and everything that you got going on, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, man. Our website is backengine.ai, so they can check out what we do there and reach out to us. I also post a lot on LinkedIn. I think a lot about like startups and the lessons I'm learning, so they can find me there. That's linkedin.com/ELIPORTNOI/Eli Portnoy, and they can find me there. And they can also just email me, eli@backengine.ai.
Love it, man. Thank you so much for coming on our Scaling Up Success podcast. Really appreciate your time today, man. And best of luck in everything that you got going on. Sounds amazing, everything that you have going on. And I can't wait to see the growth of everything moving forward, man. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Awesome. Once again, Ryan Van Scaling Up Success podcast powered by Cynergists. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.